All right, I want to restate something that I've said about Marty Walsh in the past. Marty Walsh is doing his job. This is what you want from an NHLPA executive director. Ultimately, and I've made this point as well, Marty Walsh is powerless to enact any sort of change or get anything rolling on this front. He can't do anything tangibly. What he can do is put pressure on the league and put pressure on the Morello group through rhetoric. Marty Walsh is a politician. He used to be the mayor of Boston. He's a master of rhetoric. This is what he can do for the players. I think some players may be under the misunderstanding that he actually has power over this decision. He does not. But this is what he can do. He can influence it by continually banging this drum. And there's nothing wrong with it. He's right on a lot of these fronts. It's long overdue that we had a solution here in Arizona. He's trying to protect his players back.
Yeah, and look at it this way, too. We're the PHNX Coyotes podcast. We talk about this team, and we're on the team side on most things. On this, from day one, we have said this is not acceptable for them to be playing in Mullett. The problem is there is no other choice at this particular moment in time. It's either the Mullett or they leave at that time. So everybody understands temporary solution. Mullett is temporary solution. If it becomes a permanent solution, well, then that doesn't work, and then the team will have to find another alternative. For a temporary solution, this is the best that they can do. And I'll be honest, I've talked to a lot of players with this team, not opposing players that come in and play at the Mullett, and even they come in and say, it's unique, it's interesting, we don't mind it that much. The players here in Arizona, I haven't heard that narrative from them face to face. Now, whether they're just saying that to me because they're afraid, well, I will say here, I haven't heard that narrative. Guys don't mind it as much. Now, they can't stay in there forever. They're going to have a solution. But for now, I don't know if the Mullett is all that bad.
No. And again, players love playing in Arizona. They love living here. All that stuff. Like all of that plays into the equation. I agree. I don't know. From a revenue standpoint, it matters. It absolutely matters.
For sure.
And that's where the PA has a really strong
The
argument.
revenue sharing is a thing. It's real. It's money.
And eventually, if you have a path, if you have a solution, like when Tempe looked like it was real, when we were being convinced that it was real, like Elliot said, like everybody thought that was going to happen. The players were fine at that point. Like as long as you know you have a light at the end of the tunnel, it's okay to have this temporary solution. So we continue to wait here, and people wonder what's the deadline now. Well, it was nice to hear Marty say we passed a couple of artificial deadlines. Yeah, the All-Star break was no longer a deadline, as we've been telling you on this show for a while. Again, we've said it I don't know how many times on the show, but somehow that message didn't get out to everyone. But now it's pretty apparent. We're at the All-Star break, and
nothing happened.
Yeah, it's not a deadline. And Gary's saying what he's saying. Yeah, they're moving a few
forward.
weeks, and that's obviously after the All-Star break. So the All-Star break was not a deadline at this point, as we've been telling you.
And that's what we got the sense from Gary Bettman. As long as this thing is continuing to move forward with some positive outcome, I believe that the deadline can get pushed forward. I do believe that. If at some point that looks like that is going to end and there is no hope and they're going to change, then they'll have to change directions. But until that point, I think every deadline we've talked about is arbitrary.
Listen, and I addressed this. I know you and I talked about this yesterday on the show. I don't believe Plan B is relocation. I don't. I think Gary Bettman will explore every other option. He's made that clear again and again that relocation is the last option. And I know we've got trolls on our YouTube videos, trolls everywhere else saying, yeah, you guys are in denial, you're delusional. No, we're actually just doing the reporting and hearing what the people who make decisions say. Relocation is the last option. If Alex Morello can't get this done, and again, he's confident he can still, so we'll see. I don't want to discount that possibility. But if Alex Morello can't get it done, Gary Bettman will explore other local options. He will. And that's not easy, right? There are hurdles to cross there. Everybody thinks, well, just have Matt Ishbia buy it. Well, what's the asking price? What is Alex Morello going to demand if he's even willing to sell the team? And is Matt Ishbia willing to pay that price versus, Ryan Smith in Salt Lake City, who's already kind of said he is? So those are things to take into account. There may be other ownership groups locally that are interested in this team. All of that will be explored. And while I'm saying this, some people are misconstruing what I'm saying here as saying, oh, he's saying they're not going to relocate. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that's not a possibility. All I'm saying is it's the last resort, and there are other options that they will explore before they take that route. That's the nuclear option.
And when you talk about reporting, because that's what you're doing, is reporting. You ask the ownership of this team, and the ownership of this team has said they are confident they can get a deal done. So for us to sit here and go, well, I don't believe that. They can't get a deal done. How the hell do we know?
That's a really important point, because there are a lot of people are like, oh, why should I believe that?
Can't
like,
get it done.
You can go on track record and say, okay,
For sure.
That's one thing that raises red flags. But you saying they can't get it done, like, what do I care if you're saying that? You have no idea the details
Based on
behind this
what?
deal. So you're just spouting from a position of ignorance. I couldn't care less what your opinion is on that.
Yeah, based on what?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, there are factors in his relationship that he had in Glendale and his business dealings here. And all of those things are all true. But from their mouth, they are saying they're confident they're going to get this deal done. Gary Bettman says they're confident. He believes in Morello's words, and he believes they're confident. And I do believe that's option A. Option B is this team tries to find other suitors. And to Craig's point, down the road, if there are no other options, then they will explore and start to look at relocation.
Yep.
Well,
other points in there, like Marty Walsh raised some important points too. Like, it's one thing to say you're buying this piece of land. There's a lot more that goes into building an arena and this massive complex than just that. So he's right there. We've said this before on the show. What's the timeline? How long is all of that going to take? Once this piece of land, if they do in fact go after this piece of auctioned off land, there's a period of time where it just has to sit. They have to post it and wait to see if other bidders come in. That takes you to the late spring. Yeah. So is the NHL okay with that down lane? Maybe so if they have inside information. I don't know. We don't know all those details yet. But those are very real and important questions to be asking.